everyone. I know it's been a while, but I'm glad to welcome you back to my writing series. I think it's been a couple months, and I'm really sorry about that. But the thing is, I just kind of had to put things aside for a while. But hopefully, I can continue to do this every week. I know it's not a Wednesday, despite the name Writing Wednesdays. I know that's a bit weird, but there's been some changes. I now have a much better microphone, and I'm hoping that that'll fix some of the issues that existed in the previous videos. I think some people were talking about how there's some kind of background noise or something, and the mic isn't very clear. I do tend to be soft-spoken, so that might be an issue, but I'm hoping things are better now. So we have a new question today. Let's see. Governments should give each citizen a basic income so that they have enough money to live on, even if they're unemployed. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Well, that's an interesting question because I do know a fair bit about economics. So, I mean, it was my major in university, so this might be a bit kind of unfair. This might be a bit easy for me. But of course, I mean, that's not, it's not like you never know what kind of question you're going to get, right? It might be something that's right up your alley. It might be something that you've never really put any thought into. Regardless, these questions are supposed to be fairly approachable. Like, they're fairly general things. It's not like they're extremely niche things, right? So it's not like, I mean, they're not going to ask you about nuclear reactors or something. So don't worry about that. Okay, anyway, as usual, it's been a while, so I might be kind of rusty. Let me see. Should I generate my ideas first? Maybe. Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. So I've got body paragraph 1, and I'll do my main ideas first. Well, first of all, I need to ask myself, do I agree or do I disagree? Like, what do I think? Do I think a universal basic income is a good idea? I'm sure many of you would have heard of this thing. I mean, it's been gaining traction over the past, I don't know, 10-ish years. I think there was some kind of pilot project in the Netherlands, like way back in 2010 or something. And I'm not sure exactly what came of it. Apparently, they give, I don't know, a couple €100 or something to their residents. Again, this was a very, very small, municipality, not like the entire country. And of course, UBI is like a long ways away. But it's an interesting idea nonetheless. We do have, of course, welfare payments. Many countries have that kind of thing. Social security, food stamps and stuff like that. But UBI is a different thing. Just handing over a sum of money to a citizen, just enough, of course, not like you can't live a luxurious life with it, but you can, just have a roof over your head, have food in your belly, and so on. Now, do I think this is a good idea or not? Now, it really doesn't matter what you choose, so don't worry, don't rack your brain and think, oh my god, which opinion is better. Be you, be yourself, be true to yourself, because that's what's going to make this easier. And anytime you have an opinion essay, please remember, opinion essays are extremely different, compared to discussion essays, advantage, disadvantage, problem solution, 2-part. So make sure you choose something that's easy for you. If you think you'll have an easier time writing points in favor of this, then choose that. If you think you'll have an easier time writing against this, then choose that. You have the freedom, you have the flexibility. They're giving you an option. So make it easy for yourself. Yeah, and don't waste, a lot of time just thinking. That's something I see very frequently, even with the people that we train. And I have to keep poking them. Don't think so much. Don't spend too much time thinking, because speed is the name of the game. You have 40 minutes and it's enough. Trust me, it's enough to write a good essay. We've had so many students get 7s and 7.5s. It's enough to produce good, high quality content. Of course, everyone's different, so I mean, you can't just paint everyone with the same brush, but the time is not a problem. The problem is the fact that too often people spend too much time just wondering about all the possibilities. So don't do that. Just get straight to it, yeah? In any case, they don't care about your opinions. They don't care about your values. They're not judging you. So that's not something you should be concerned about anyway. Anyway, let me know if my microphone is good, if you can hear me fine. If it's too loud, should I place it a ways away? Whatever kind of feedback you have will really go a long way into making the channel better. So anyway, let me start. I'm really torn. Again, I'm kind of just thinking about my own advice. I did say that don't spend too much time thinking, but I've spent the past 5 minutes just talking about this. And I still have something to say because, if I really were to go into that, I mean, if I were to think about what I learned in university, this would increase inflation. That would be bad for everyone. But I personally, the more social welfare side of me thinks this is brilliant because, I mean, nobody gets born into the world with their permission, right? I mean, don't you think it's strange? You didn't get asked to be born, so like, then you have to go to work and struggle for 8 hours each day and just do that for the next, 40, 50 years of your life. Don't you think that's a bit weird? So yeah, I mean, people shouldn't have to struggle for basic things like food, shelter. This is something I think is a human right. And I, of course, know that land is limited. I mean, most of the planet is, 60% or 70% water. But everyone should have the right to a decent life, and a basic income could be the way forward for that. Now, I might end up regretting this choice because I still think, oh God, it's not such a good idea, when you think of the economics of it all. But I'm gonna make it work. Again, like I said, it doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter if you say that. Let's say you have a question about democracy versus dictatorship. It doesn't matter even if you choose dictatorship. It doesn't matter. Truly, they don't care. They just care about the quality of your writing. That's all. Okay, so I agree. I think it's a good idea. A bit, maybe a bit very socialistic, but anyway, it's it's a good idea. Okay, oops, there we go. Okay, so I need to think of a main idea. I need to think of a reason why I agree. And I think I'm just gonna go ahead with yeah, thanks, Sushant. That's good to hear. Right. So as I was saying, uh, every human being has the right to, yeah, that's gonna be my main idea. So every human being should have. I mean, I think a decent life. I don't mean luxury, but I just mean the basic necessities. That's why we call them the basic necessities, right? So every human being should have, right? I mean, at the moment, yeah, the UN says, oh, food is a right and whatever, but fact is, there's millions of people struggling for food. I mean, right now in Afghanistan, children are dying. There is no food. Um, Very strange when you think about it that way. Anyway, so every human being should have the right to a what's the other term? I mean, yeah, you can say decent. That's also fine. I mean, yeah, don't overthink it. Just go with the flow. So every human being should have the right to a decent life. Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't be forced to go to work. Basically, I don't mean that nobody should work. Obviously, I think every human being has a special, unique set of skills. You might be good at math, another person might be good at art, another person might be good at tinkering with computers, another person might be a great chef. Everybody has their own skills. You can't judge a chef by his or her ability to solve complex math equations, right? Everybody has an innate skill set, and that's your gift to the world. You serve the world, you serve society with your skills. The way we think about work and studying and education is, of course, not in line with that. But I mean, eventually, if you free people from the burden of, having to work because I have to survive, otherwise I'm going to be homeless. If you free people from that, I think more and more people would really have more fulfilling lives. They would do the work that they like. They wouldn't care so much like, oh my God, this job pays more money, so even though I hate it, I'm going to do it because I know I have a family to take care of, etc. People will be happier, people will be more relaxed. I think that could lead to less violence in society, less of a difference between the haves and the have-nots, essentially. Not to sound too Marxist or whatever, it's just something I remember from uni. There is, of course, a lot of the crime, the violence, the hatred, the lack of trust that we have in society stems largely from, the distinction between people who have wealth, capital, resources versus people who don't, right? I mean, why would somebody rob someone, for example? Just as an example, because they don't have something and they need something. That's just, of course, one example. There's many types of violence that have nothing to do with the haves and the have-nots, but anyway, that's another thing. I'm digressing. Okay, so what was I saying? What was my point anyway? Every human being should have the right to. Yeah, right. It would lead to a more egalitarian society. I think it could lead to more harmony. in society. Maybe that can be my point, or maybe I could say, or was I saying, yeah, people would have more fulfilling lives. So let me see. Yeah, people people would have more fulfilling and happier lives if they did not have to worry about an income. And income as a worry about, like basic necessities. So, worry about money. I mean, yeah, if you know that, okay, I'm getting, let's just say, okay, I'm getting whatever, $600 a month, and that pays for my rent and pays for food for one person, right? And it's like, okay, that's good enough. I mean, yeah, there's many other things, of course, as well, but then you work for those things if you want them, right? Yeah, let's say you want a new laptop or whatever. Okay, well, you work for that. That's not exactly an absolute necessity for most people, right? So yeah, I think that's a fairly good idea. I think I can develop it. Always ask yourself, is this main idea broad enough? Can I write, 100 words on this? Can I produce good content related to this? If the answer is no, change your main idea. You still have time, but don't just push forward. Don't fall into the sunk cost fallacy. Like, oh, I've already spent like 5 minutes writing this main idea. Now I have to go ahead with it. No, not at all. Dump the main idea, leave it behind, write a new one, because it will be a waste of your time. You can still get a 7 even if you miss half of your conclusion. I mean, of course, that depends on how strong, the rest of your work is. I'm not saying that as a blanket statement, but I know that I have had students who have missed, like they came and told me, oh, well, I wrote a line or something, I wrote a sentence, but I wasn't able to finish it. I just wrote like, one sentence and that was that, and they still ended up doing well. Of course, there's a range of other things. They have training that maybe you don't at the moment if you're not a student of mine and you're watching this channel. But you don't necessarily have to be a student of mine to be great in terms of your language skills, right? Everybody is different, everyone's unique. So, no, I cannot judge for you at the moment if you're watching, but as a general rule, I mean, it's always better to rewrite that main idea, make it make sense, make it easy for you, make it something that you can expand on. But there has to be a balance between being vague and being broad, right? And there's also a balance between, when you write your supporting ideas, there's also a balance to be struck between being specific versus being extremely niche. So don't write something that's only applicable to a very, very small section of society, right? So again, careful, it's a very delicate dance. I probably won't be able to explain the whole thing in this little thing. I'm just gonna go ahead with my writing. So, sorry about the background noise. Can't do anything about that at the moment, unfortunately. Okay, well, I think I have my main ideas. It makes sense. Let me read them once more. You might find it a bit annoying that I keep reading, but it's really important. Just think, if you don't read your work, you're not going to have a good idea of whether you've made a mistake or not. I mean, of course, you're not going to be able to, figure out all of your errors, all of your mistakes, because again, there's a difference in skill between you and me. I can produce something that's 100% almost correct, not to toot my own horn or something, but it's just years and years of training, of course. But if you don't, a lot of people just write and they don't even check their work. To be fair, when I do writing exercises in other languages, I kind of do the same, because I don't know, to be honest, I've stopped caring so much when I write, like a paragraph in German, for example. But like, I still, like, when you get better, you tend to not minutely check things as much, yeah, because you just have this intuition, you just go by feel. So, before I started teaching, I mean, I couldn't tell you what the difference between a predicative adjective and a normal adjective was. Like, I didn't even know the term predicative adjective, but I could use it, because it's just intuition. It's just what you already know about language. It's just because you know the language, not because you know the specific technical term for something, right? That all of that stuff, of course, I learned when I got trained, and the years from then onward. But I mean, if you have a natural intuition for things, and remember, languages are about what's that called again? Patterns, pattern recognition. Humans are wired to recognize patterns. So, if you're ignoring language skills and you think that, okay, I'm just going to watch a bunch of YouTube videos about the process, about the exam prep, that will help you, but it will not help you 100%. It's not a quick fix. Yeah. So I mean, of course, improve your language skills, but don't just depend on sorry, I mean, of course, improve your exam skills, but don't just depend on improving your exam skills. Too often people are so unrealistic. They think, yeah, I'm gonna do like a 1 week training kind of thing, and I'm just gonna get a 7 when I'm getting a 5.5 at the moment, or I'm getting a band 6 at the moment, but I'm just gonna wake up one day and study for like 12 hours each day for like 1 week. I'm gonna take the exam. No, that's not how it works. That's just not realistic. Imagine you don't know anything about baking, and I tell you, okay, so I want you to bake whatever, a 3-layer Napoleon cake in 2 days. I mean, you could, I mean, on your first attempt, it's not going to be perfect. I know, because I bake. It's just not going to work out. You need practice. You need time. That's just biology. That's just how the brain works. So don't be unrealistic. Evaluate yourself. If you have a teacher or tutor you trust, or if you can have someone evaluate your work, then do that. Because it's really important to be honest with yourself, right? And again, language learning, it's not something you can just rush. I used to think that way. I used to think, okay, here's a 300-page book. Great. If I do 10 pages each day in 1 month, I'm gonna, be at like an A1, A2 level or something. No, that's just not how it works. I've been doing, okay, I'm like, going like way off track, of course, but I feel it's important, because again, people have all kinds of ideas. You might be a new, subscriber or watcher. I feel like ever since I started learning other languages, my word choice in English is starting to like change, and sometimes I even mix mix words. Anyway, that's a completely different thing. You see how I just keep digressing. I just keep changing the topic. Gosh, I'm sorry about that, but you know what? I just have so much to say. Anyway, I think this is all important information for you either way. So you might be new to this channel. It's important that I tell you this is how I explain things to everyone that I teach. Of course, I'm not teaching you at the moment. I'm just writing because it's a fun thing to do, and yeah, it is actually fun. You might not believe it, but I mean, yeah, if you ask me the same thing about writing something in Russian or German, I would probably not say the same thing because I don't have the right vocabulary, and I'm still just a baby when it comes to those languages. But anyway, in general, it's a very good, skill to work on. Anyway, so yeah, enough yapping. I'm going to continue on with my supporting idea. So why should every human being have the right to a decent life? Now I have to explain this. So, why should they really? Okay, well, okay, well, yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is not such a good main idea. I should take my own advice. Every human being should have the right to this. Nobody should have to, I think. Let me just say. Okay, maybe yeah, okay. Worries about housing. Worries about food insecurity. Okay, food insecurity. What else? Oh, yeah, as I was saying, nobody gets asked. You're born without your consent. Let's just think about that for a second. Nobody gets asked to be born, right? Ridiculous to expect people to. I think maybe these ideas would be more relevant over here. There's a lot of food insecurity in the world, right? And there's a lot of housing. I mean, like 20 years ago, housing was just a problem in big cities, like really huge, really popular cities like mine. But nowadays, it's just very, very different. In almost every city, you have ridiculous rents, and it's just, life is becoming unaffordable, really, for a lot of people. So, people would have more, okay, yeah, as I was saying, less crime. Less violence or crime. More harmony in society. Again, I'm not sure. I'm just like, working things out. I'll probably change this. But why? Why would people be happier if they didn't have to worry about, money, like money for basic stuff, like having a roof over your head? Wow, I should stop talking and start thinking. Okay. No, I think this is actually fine. I can put, food is an essential. I mean, you need food to survive, right? I mean, food is essential. Housing is essential as well. Many people live in insecure housing. Many people become homeless even though they have jobs, which is really ridiculous when you think about it. I mean, it's just crazy. A home is such a basic thing. Anyway, what was I saying? Why? What do I mean by more fulfilling and happier lives? They don't have to work dead end jobs, work jobs they hate. Right? Many people. I mean, ask your friends. I'm sure some of them will say, I don't really like it, but what option do I have, right? I've got like a wife or a husband, I've got kids, I've got mom, dad, I've got family, I've got responsibilities, EMIs, home loans. I mean, it's difficult. Okay, so they don't have to work jobs they hate. They can really pursue their true passions. I mean, let's say you're a great musician, you're just amazing at the piano or whatever, but you have to work as a computer engineer or whatever, and it's really just grating away at your soul, right? I mean, there's so many cases. People just like kill that part of themselves, you know, because I mean, it's weird. People can't really use their skills to serve society. So pursue their real passions, serve society with their skills. This is just note making, so you don't gotta write sentences, okay? A decent life includes food, includes housing. Nobody should have to worry about that, right? It's like, oh yeah, you've probably never, I mean, if you heard of it, that's great, but have you heard of Maslow's hierarchy of human needs? So this is something I learned in 11th grade. We have basic needs like food, shelter, and then we have higher level needs, but you can't really think or worry about higher level needs like love or career achievement if your basic needs aren't met. You can't even think of the other things, right? Like, I mean, let's say I want to work at Google, for example, but let's say I'm homeless right now and I don't have any food. I haven't eaten like 2 days. Forget Google. I'm not going to be thinking of anything related to that, right? I'm just going to think, where can I get some food? How can I get myself into some safe housing, right? So, yeah, that's why I have this over here. Essential basic needs need to be fulfilled for humans to really, fulfill their what was I saying? I really get sidetracked a whole lot. Um, Tommy says government is responsible to take care of its citizens. Tommy, I agree. They do have a duty of care. Well, I mean, in an ideal form, like if you've ever watched The Walking Dead or, any shows like that, I mean, there are a bunch of ragtag people. Again, I'm just like going off topic, but anyway, this is how it is. If you don't like it, just end the stream. I have to, let things out because this is kind of like the only communication I get these days, other than the lessons I teach. So, as I was saying, the idea of a government is that you have a bunch of people who are good at what they do. Like, let's say this fellow is really great at convincing people and talking. Great, let's make him our leader. Or this person is really good at gardening. Great, you're in head of agriculture. That's how you form like a very, very, very grassroots level government. That's what a government really is. Just people who are good at something deciding to help the community. It's service. But anyway, modern day governments are more about power and subjugation, and that's like a whole different thing. I wouldn't get into that here because anyway, that's not what we're about. I agree with what you're saying, but I don't know if I can put it in here. I mean, you probably could see it's your essay, your work. You can probably justify it, right? But these are the ideas I have in my mind at the moment, so I'm just gonna go ahead with these. But yeah, I mean, they do have a responsibility. That can actually be a very good idea. Let me think about it. So, main idea one, let's say governments have a responsibility or they have a duty of care toward their citizens, yeah? And you can explain it by saying that the whole purpose of a government is to serve people, constituents, or people, or citizens, or residents, whatever. And, Yeah, you could. I mean, I can't really think of much because I'm just thinking, oh yeah, they should, but they're not doing X, Y, Z, you know. But yeah, I mean, if you have enough supporting ideas, that can very well be a good main idea sentence. It again depends on you, right? I mean, I might be able to. I mean, I've created these main ideas and supporting ideas, but somebody else might think something else. Yeah, somebody else might have other ideas. So again, that depends. It's very subjective. Let me know if I'm talking too quick because it tends to happen if I get excited about something. Anyway, so now I'm gonna write my introduction. I already have the main ideas, so I don't have to redo them. So how do I start my introduction? Wow. Okay. So my theme here is income or welfare rather or social security. So yes, basic income. Okay, I'm just gonna think about that for a sec. Okay, even if you're unemployed. So even if you don't have a job, you should still be getting money. Um, I think I'm gonna start by saying that life is very strenuous here. I mean, that's just my own opinion. Life in general, okay, yeah, where's my punctuation? I mean, this is just so bad. Okay, life in general has become. Why is there no space before punctuation? You know what really nerves me out is when people write something and there's, like space before punctuation and no space after punctuation. It really like grinds my gears. But I know it's different in French because apparently for some reason you have punctuation. Sorry, you have space before punctuation, but anyway, that's not how it works in English. So just keep in mind, yeah, because that's important. You might think, oh, it's just a tiny comma, but no, it's very important. So anyway, life in general has become, what was I saying? Yes, quite strenuous. Strenuous over the past. I mean, it's also become easier, but anyway, that's a different thing. Life in general has become quite strenuous over the past few decades, and many people struggle. You'll notice that I've said in general, many people. I'm not saying life has become, and all people, or people, right? Why? Because you should avoid generalized statements. You can't say that for every single person on planet Earth, life is difficult or whatever. You can't, because it is easy for some. It's just a fact of life. So, and many people tend to struggle with ensuring access to essentials. Oh, what's up? Oh, seriously, what is up with this keyboard? Okay, so many people tend to struggle with ensuring access to essentials and have to make many sacrifices to do so. I mean, you got parents who go without food just so that their kid can have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, despite having a job. This is just ridiculous when you think about it. Many sacrifices in order to do so. Ensuring that citizens, or ensuring, yeah, that's fine. Of course, you can't just give money to anybody that lives among citizens. So, ensuring that citizens have, um, hmm, some government funding. I'm not sure how quite to put it. Okay, so ensuring that citizens have some amount of money provided to them. This is the same thing as basic income, so I'm just, rephrasing it. Provided to them each month to facilitate ease of access to. Okay, well, I understand what I'm writing, but you might not, or you may or may not, so I want to keep it simple. See, just because I write something like this doesn't mean you have to, yeah? So don't think, like, oh, I have to write something like this. No, not at all. Ensuring that citizens have some amount of money provided to them each month to facilitate easier um, I mean, yeah, okay, I don't want to make it overly specific, right? I should take my own advice. I don't take my own advice a lot of the time. That is just how it is. Insurance each month without needing to work, without needing to necessarily um, work for it, yeah, uh, would go a long way in alleviating many concerns. Um, Many concerns. Yep. Any concerns? What concerns? Whose concerns? It's unclear. Let me just reread this. Life and okay, insurance for it would go a long way in alleviating many of their concerns. There we go. There's my introduction. That's it. I've made it clear. You might feel like, but she's not saying I agree, I disagree. Well, that's because this is something when you say I feel, I think, my opinion, etc. That's a self-reference. Self-references will make your work appear to have a more informal tone. It doesn't mean that just because I use I, my work is now informal. No, but there's, of course, degrees, right? Just like there's degrees in modal verbs. So we have degrees in formality, informality. It's a scale. It doesn't go from like yes, no. It's not binary. It's not 0, 1. It's a scale from 1 to 100. So it's best to avoid self-references. That being said, it doesn't mean that just because you've written some personal pronouns, you're automatically not going to get a 7. No, but it's a risk factor. And what I teach all of my students is please avoid taking any risks. Any risk factors, you'd want to just, avoid it. Why? Why take a risk? I mean, it's an exam. So anyway, now I've got my main idea sentences. Okay, so I already have this, so now I just have to copy paste it. Oh yeah, I didn't add my transitions, but that's okay. Like I said, I don't take my own advice. I'm just going to wing it. That's just how I do things. That doesn't mean that's how you would do things, of course. What I teach someone versus what I do tend to be very different things. That's just how things are. Because again, I might feel like I need some flexibility. Yeah, I can't be so rigid with myself. So every human being should have the right. I mean, yeah, we do have certain rights, but then it doesn't actually translate into practice. So that's a different thing altogether. Let me just scroll down. Oops. Okay, there we go. Every human being should have the right to a decent life. Should I use most importantly? I think it's fair enough. I think housing and food are very similar to each other. No, I think this is the most important thing, right? Because, I mean, just think about it. Nobody asked you for your permission. As strange as it sounds, but, it's true. So, yeah, this is the better order, and then, okay, I think, yeah, the second one is fine. I think this is okay. Let me see. Yep, looks good. Alright, so the order is fine. I'm gonna start with nobody else, yeah, perhaps most importantly. It's really interesting to think about, but I need to use another phrase for this. I'm trying to think of a more impressive, transition. I'm not saying you have to, I just want to do the best work I possibly can. So anyway, it's been like 33 minutes and I'm just... Yeah, it's just, I promise next time I'll take less time. Anyway, you probably already know I can do a whole thing in like 30 minutes. So this is just, I've been back after a real long time and I figured it'd be good to kind of talk about a couple things. Also, I like explaining things. So I'm not sure. What do you prefer if you're watching the replay? Yeah, just let me know. Just comment and let me know. Do you want me to, rather just create a bunch of videos where, I mean, live, yeah, of course, otherwise it's unfair. I just do it live because I want to show you that it's possible to, write a good essay. I don't want to like record and then cut parts and whatever. That's just like so fake. But yeah, would you rather that I just write, not explain anything, just focus on writing like I would if I were taking an actual exam? Or is this good? Like when I'm interacting, explaining my ideas, explaining my reasoning. Of course, if I'm explaining things, then you'll have an easier time because that's the goal, right? If you get a question like this, then you can borrow my ideas. Yeah, I mean, nobody checks. There's no like, I mean, yeah, of course, if you just memorize something, then of course that's not a good idea because they can figure that out pretty easily. But yeah, I mean, you can, borrowing ideas and, explanations and stuff, that's 100% okay. Every single thing you know about the world right now is not exactly original, right? You've read about it somewhere, you've heard someone talk about it. That's how we develop, ideas. So that's like 100% okay. The goal of this series is not for me to show off that, look, I can write an essay in half an hour. Like, doesn't matter anyway. It doesn't change anything in the world. But yeah, whatever you would prefer, and whatever makes it more enjoyable or fun. I know that sitting through an hour-long video can be a bit annoying. I personally would probably skip. I would rather read the transcript, but then again, I am not the one who needs help with the exam. You are. So, right. So what was I saying? Right. Perhaps most importantly, um, yeah, I think that's fine. It's not the best, but I mean, it's okay. So I'm just gonna go ahead with that. You know what? I can't see my own cursor. Okay. Perhaps most importantly, um, there isn't a single human being. Oh, I've already used. Okay, let me change that. There isn't a single person on the planet who had any role who had any role to play in their birth, right? In their entry into this world. Not to get all spiritual or something, but yeah. So it makes little sense to be forced to live out, engage in the drudgery. Okay, I'm sorry I'm using words like this, but hey, I mean, if you learn what it means, that's only good for you. That's just my writing style, okay? So it makes little sense for them to be forced to engage in the drudgery of a 9 to 5 for, 40 to 50 years. Another essential factor is that food is something that, I mean, just think about it. You put a seed in the earth, a couple years later it gives you fruits. How beautiful is that? Land, I mean, the planet, I mean, earth gives us everything we need. So why do I have to pay money for food, right? It's, when you think about it, it really makes you, I mean, yeah, farming is not easy. Obviously, you should pay people what they're worth. I'm not suggesting stealing or something, but I'm just saying, like, yeah, there are people who actually have their own gardens and stuff, and like they don't buy fruit and veg, they just grow it, which is really cool. But yeah, I mean, obviously, when you give somebody an income, they're going to go and buy stuff. So, I mean, why would I even? I'm not even. I don't know. Anyway, so another essential factor to consider: food is something that is. Yeah, obviously, like bread doesn't grow on trees or whatever, but I mean, wheat does. Wheat doesn't grow on trees; it grows in the soil. But you get my point. Let me see. How can I phrase this? That's what I'm thinking. Is like, okay, what's the best way to write this? Let me see. No, I'm not. I'm not like wondering. I'm not like interaction is always thumbs up. Yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah. Oh wow. Thanks. Yeah. Every human being should have the right to have a decent life, and it's the government's responsibility to make sure citizens get that. Yeah. I think that is actually a really good main idea sentence. Maybe you can shorten it just a little bit. Yeah. I prefer shorter main idea sentences, short and simple for main ideas. But there's really nothing wrong with what you've written. I think it 100% works just fine. The only important thing is, can you easily explain it? If yes, perfect. Go right ahead. So, oh yes, yes, thanks for letting me know. So, what was I saying? Another essential factor to consider is that food is something that every human being, everybody, okay, everybody needs. Sorry about the noise. I can't really wake up and shut my window either because it's a bit far. But anyway, let's just pretend there is nobody crying in the background. I have no idea. The kids outside are playing and somebody always cries. Anyway, another essential factor is everyone needs to survive. You cannot live without food. And it seems quite ridiculous when you really think about it. And it seems quite ridiculous that somebody would be hungry just because they don't have money. For someone to go hungry, go to bed at just to go hungry, to just because just because of a lack of money. Food is something that everybody needs to survive, and it seems ridiculous for someone to go hungry just because they don't have money. I mean, yeah, not everyone can farm, not everyone has those skills, not everyone has the patience. And again, it's not an immediate thing. It's not like, yeah, I planted a seed today and I got food tomorrow. Of course. But, when you think about it, it's amazing how everything that a human being needs is produced from soil, from the ground. I mean, it's really cool when you think about it. So, I mean, food, there should be it's not like super expensive to produce, like basic food. Of course, if you want to eat sushi or whatever, well, that's a different thing. Yeah, so yeah, I think that's good. Another essential factor to consider is that food is something that everybody needs to survive, and it seems ridiculous for someone to go hungry just for want of money. Lack of money, you want of money, you can use any phrase. That's either way it works. This is just good enough. I don't need to really explain more. Um, what was I saying? Yeah, likewise, is not optional. Man or mankind, or nowadays they prefer not to use man or woman, just so yeah, you can just use people. Yeah, there's nothing really wrong with it. I mean, in traditional English, man is just a general term, it has nothing to do with gender, etc. So you can use that either way, or you can just use people, just it's fine. Likewise, housing is not optional either. um People need to have a roof over their heads to um, survive the elements. The elements, that's climate. And it is a shame. It is a car. It is this black spot on a society if people have to be out there on the streets when it's cold, when it's raining, when it's snowing, when it's hot. So people need to have a roof over their heads to survive the elements, and it is a shame for any civilized society to. Of course, there are many societies which aren't civilized and don't care. That's a different thing. Let's just assume that every society wants to be civilized. This reminds me a lot of when we used to use the phrase ceteris paribus, and it's so ridiculous because ceteris paribus just means all things remaining the same. But it's so ridiculous because nothing remains the same. It just doesn't make any sense, I was. Anyway, again, I'm just like, anyway. So, people need to have a roof over their heads to survive the elements, and it is a shame for any civilized. Yeah, I know there's this red mark that's just because Google Docs is in US English and I'm using the UK spelling. Both are fine, so don't worry. But if you're gonna use, UK spelling, then just stick to it. If you're gonna use US or North American rather spelling, stick to that. But again, even if you do, mix it up a couple times, it's not really that big of a deal. So don't split hairs over it. Yeah. It is a shame for a civilized society if it's cannot afford housing, cannot afford something as essential for human survival. But I've already said human survival, survive. I don't want to be repetitive. So it is a shame for any civilized society who cannot afford a home for themselves. Likewise, housing is not optional. People need to have a roof over their heads, and it's a shame for any civilized society if citizens cannot afford a home for themselves or must pay a huge portion. It's so normal for people to say, "Oh yeah, I pay like 60% of my income for rent or my mortgage or whatever." Ridiculous, really ridiculous. Um, yeah, a huge portion of their income to afford it, to be able to, yeah, or must pay a huge portion of their income. Yeah, this is fine. And then finally, if let me see my other idea. Okay, if people are given a monthly allowance, the quality of life would improve. Oh, but fulfilling and happier lives. Let's see. Right, a decent life. A decent life, fulfilling and happier. Yeah, but I'm talking about not working. Okay. I think that's fine. So if people are given a monthly allowance, their standard of living, a basic standard of living, a survival level standard of living. Yeah. A basic standard could be ensured. There we go. And then the next main idea. There we go. Let me just see how many words this is. Looks fine. I'm not going to count it anyway. Actually, I've hidden the thing over here. I forgot what it's called, the toolbar or something. Oh, this is in full screen mode. Okay, well, I'm going to check it later anyway. It looks good. I don't think it's short. I never write something under length, so there we go. And then the next thing, so people were more fulfilling. Okay. This is because they would no longer have to report. I know they would no longer have to report to a job they hate, or a job they. What's up with my spacebar? Okay. This is because they would no longer have to report to a job that they hate, or hello, could you tell me how to maintain a clear tone throughout the essay? I have been attending some writing AI evaluations and they're telling me to maintain a clear tone. I don't understand. So Hema, the thing is, okay, one thing about the AI evaluations, I know there's many websites out there which offer some kind of, I mean, you just, type in or copy paste your essay and they just automatically on the spot evaluate your work. Oops, sorry, deleted your message. I'm sorry. Anyway, I remember what you talked about, so I'll just help you out there. Thing with AI evaluations is that, and I use such websites for when I write in German or Russian. Because like obviously I can't just submit 20 pages of homework to my teacher. So I use those services, and the thing is, they're not perfect. They can help you with a couple things, but they tend to spit out generic information. Yeah, so you really can't trust, because see, here's the thing: the IELTS is not evaluated by AI. That's just not how language is evaluated. Like, let's say I'm talking to you, right? You're not a computer, you're not a robot, you're a human being, you're a real person. And when you read this again, you're a real human being, you're a real person. So it's very unnatural, and most importantly, that's just not how IELTS judges your work. So you'll want to get a real tutor. I know it's difficult to find someone who really knows what they're doing, but look at their track record, look at their other students' performance and everything. That'll help you. So yeah, tone largely, if you're talking about tone, actually it tends to do with letter writing rather. With an essay, you might be talking about register. Again, see, that's the thing. It's a website that's just automatically assuming stuff. So, I mean, unless I was the engineer for the website, I wouldn't know exactly how they're judging you. So I'm just, guesstimating a lot of things over here. But first of all, I wouldn't trust AI websites unless we're talking about basic stuff like helping you with subject-verb agreement and plurals and punctuation and stuff like that. And even then, they can sometimes be wrong. So you're going to really only depend on a human being checking your work word by word, line by line, letter by letter. But yeah, tone is largely for when you're talking to someone or you're writing to someone in particular. See, letters have a specific audience, but an essay is for any random Tom, Dick, and Harry. Anybody can pick up your essay and read it, right? It's not written to a singular person, but a letter is written to a singular person. So if you're writing to some stranger, for example, it doesn't make any sense to say, like I just saw this a couple of days ago, somebody wrote a letter, and they were just saying, so I want you to refund my money immediately. And that's it's a very demanding tone. I mean, yeah, that might be how, I mean, you're a customer, you're upset, you feel ripped off. Yeah, it makes sense to be angry. But the thing is, in proper ideal writing, we don't tend to do that. We tend to be a little bit less direct and rather use language like, I would really appreciate it if you would be able to, or if you were so kind as to offer me a partial or full refund in lieu of, taking the item back, or if you cannot do that, or if that is not possible, etc. So that's generally tone. When it comes to writing an essay, it's more about register. So you don't want to have an informal register when you're writing an essay. You don't want to use, for example, words like kids, hanging out. Don't use casual language. Don't use colloquial language. The message is now deleted, so people who are watching might think, what is she going on about? Sorry. I just figured, that's really important. And I know many of you might probably be using websites like that as well. It's good enough for basic stuff, but like when I use such websites for my own work. I don't really depend on them 100%. There are many websites where you can actually have your work checked by a native speaker. One option, like I said, is find a tutor, but there are many websites like langcorrect.com. I'm not sure if it's .com or something else, but just Google LANGCORRET. That's one website. It's new. It's really good. I use it for German. Then there's Reddit. There's Right Streak EN. That's WRITESTREAKEN. Just Google it. You'll find a subreddit. Create a free account, and you can post your writing there every day. A real human being will check your work and tell you if it's good, bad, whatever you need to improve. There's also, I think, LinkQ, but I haven't used it because it's like a paid service or something, and I'm not sure. I think it's not the right service for me at the moment because there's a bunch of other stuff that I don't really need. So that's what I recommend, in more practice. I know it's such an old-fashioned thing to say, but you know what, it works. And yeah, register. Don't use informal language like kids and hang out. Try to avoid any colloquial language, because generally essays are considered to be academic in nature. Of course, nobody really writes essays in the 21st century unless you're an academician, so I know that whole concept is very old-fashioned. Anyway, now we come back. Sorry about that. This is because they would no longer have to report to a job they hate or do work they dislike just to survive, right? Just to survive or pay the bills. They would be freed from the shackles. Now, this is me just going haywire. They would be freed from the shackles of working to live. In a similar vein, they would then be able to live to, am I working to live or am I living to work? You know what they say, are you eating to live or are you living to eat? It's a very funny thing. Anyway, wow, it's like really quiet all of a sudden. Okay, in a similar vein, they would then be able to live a life that is authentic. What's my other idea? Let me just scroll down. Pursue their passions. Yes. They would then be free. I've already used the same. Okay, they could pursue their real passions. And serve society with their enables them to enjoy their work and gain emotional what else? Yeah, I mean, if you like what you do, you'll do a better job. Simple as, right? Do you think this is tiny? Oh, that looks fine. Well, they would no longer have to report to a job they hate, free from the shackles. I mean, yeah, the shackles, you don't have to use language like that necessarily, but that's just how I write. And then lastly, less crime. Yeah, so what was I saying? Okay, so I could just use, moreover, I can just slap that on here, but yeah, if I compare to the previous paragraph, it looks kind of small. I don't want there to be such a big difference. Let me just explain it a bit more. They would then be able to live a life that is authentic to themselves. It's a true expression. Like, I like what I do, for example. So I'm not thinking, oh, what I'm doing right now is work. It's just, yeah, this is fun. I'm just doing it, They would then be able to live a life that's authentic. They could pursue their real passions and serve society with their skills, which enables them to enjoy their work and gain emotional satisfaction from it. Okay, they would no longer have to report to a job they hate or do work they dislike just to survive or pay the bills. They would be freed from the shackles of working to live. Working. Yeah, that's fine. Let me go to the last one. Another important factor. I think I've already said that, so I don't want to use that. You can see it right here. Another essential factor, so I don't want to copy that. What else? Not only would, yeah, not only is this a great idea, would it help the individual, would it help individual people, but it would also benefit society overall because it could reduce the crime rate as people who have their basic necessities secured would be less likely, right, to feel the need to rob someone or commit any other type of crime, any other related crime, just to gain access to things they need or want, right? I don't have a car, let me carjack someone, let me steal someone's car. That's not gonna, I mean, yeah, a car might be considered luxury depending on where you're from. In many cases, it's actually a necessity. But you know, there's gonna be less friction. People are gonna trust each other more. There's gonna be more harmony. In fact, let me write that. I think, yeah, this looks good enough. Let me not write too much either, you know. I think this is simple enough to understand, yeah. It benefits society because society feeling to rob someone, or commit any other. Why have I written any other or commit any related crimes just to gain access to things they need or want, yeah, which would lead to more harmony in society, or which will lead to harmony in society, whatever you want to write. Okay, what else, that's good enough. Therefore, if a universal income is guaranteed, life would be immensely, immeasurably society. It affects, it positively impacts. If a universal income is guaranteed, it would there we go, and that's good enough. Then I'm gonna write my conclusion. So in conclusion, let me wrap it up real quick. It is evident that as largely the existing cycle that we have, as it stands, the cycle of working to pay the bills and merely existing is not sustainable. People are facing burnout. I don't want to write burnout because then that's a new thing. And people should be given the opportunity, should be freed from these burdens and be allowed to live a life that allows, allowed to live a life where they can fully, life in which they can, fully and purely. This is like, oh, I'm getting like very poetical, but anyway, express themselves without worrying about food, clothing, and shelter. What's up? Like, be like the best version of you, right? Okay, and finally, if this practice is implemented worldwide, humanity could finally some semblance peace and satisfaction or maybe contentment. But yeah, that's fine. I mean, I would just be nitpicking if I just, like worried about every single word choice. Anyway, this is like kind of big. Let me see. There we go. I'm gonna now just check the word count. First, I'll just scroll through this so you can read. You can, of course, also just pause the video. There we go. I'm not like reading it through. I think it's fine. Maybe I've made a mistake or two or something. Let me see. Likewise. Okay, that's fine. And then the next paragraph. And then the last one. There we go. Let's see the word count. Okay, let's see. can't remember. You don't have to write something so large. This is just how I write things. Oh, sorry about that. That's like 471. Yeah, always the same story. But anyway, let me check this one. How big is this really? Oh gosh, okay. 159, that's quite a bit much, but anyway, there's no upper limit, so you don't have to worry about things like that. And it's been an hour. I can't believe it's been an hour, but I appreciate when people give their feedback or ask questions, so feel free. I mean, this is just an hour for us to talk about stuff, and I also write an essay. Okay, so well, I hope I can see you next week. Again, I'm trying to make some changes. Here you have the ideas. If you would like, you can just take a screenshot or something. So yeah, as I've been saying, I'd like to make some changes. So I'm not sure if I should just do this kind of thing, maybe multiple times a week. Maybe write, multiple essays a week. Like maybe do it twice or thrice or something. Or if once a week is good enough. Whatever you think is a good idea. I'm open to suggestions. I think speaking Saturdays as well, I'm gonna get started on that, so hopefully I'll see you on Saturday when I'm gonna do a new speaking test with new questions. That just takes like 15-20 minutes or so, so that's not, again, if you would like me to do more of those, yeah, we could do it into an sorry, let me just clear my throat. So yeah, if you want me to do it like every alternate day, every day, whatever, that could very much be possible. So just let me know what you think in the comment section. Yeah, and with that, I bid you adieu, and I'll see you on Saturday. We're definitely doing speaking. I definitely want to start this again. I'm also thinking of just collecting all these essays and just publishing them so people can find it, an easy way to just read through them. Okay, well, I'll see you next time then. I can't find my cursor. Okay, I'm just gonna stop the stream. Where's the button? There we go. Alright, well, you have a good night or a good day wherever you are.